This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. A train derailment has closed one of Winnipeg's busiest streets, and police say it may stay that way for days. This has snarled traffic since the morning commute, and while officials say there's no risk to the public, it is causing headaches for local businesses. CBC's Brittany Greenslade reports.
It was an unexpected interruption to Winnipeggers' morning commute as a dozen CP rail cars derailed from the train overpass above McPhillips.
Some of the cars on the bridge and some off. We had a total of 12 cars derailed, some of which are derailed on the bridge at this time.
The derailment happened shortly before 8 a.m. CP says the train was traveling at low speed in the rail yard when the incident occurred, but did not say what may have led to the problem. Winnipeg Fire Paramedic Service Assistant Chief Scott Wilkinson says it's a rare occurrence.
It doesn't happen too frequently, and usually because of the lower speeds and the type of derails involved, it's usually not major, and unfortunately this was the same.
Police, fire, and a hazmat crew were all immediately called in. An area was put under evacuation order while crews did a risk assessment.
So until we're able to identify the product, they go into action to help identify it. We brought out our RPAS, or our drone unit, to provide intelligence to our hazmat unit. And after full investigation, we were able to determine the nature of the derailment and the amount of damage.
While cars could be seen leaning at sharp angles off the tracks, the company says all remained upright. Fire crews say there were no leaks or spills, and the train was carrying bitumen.
It's a petroleum oil product used in the asphalt process, so it's not a dangerous good. It is not readily flammable, and there's no danger to the community from that product.
The owner of nearby George's Burger and Subs says they weren't allowed to go inside their restaurant until crews could determine if there was any danger.
They didn't even allow us to be in the building, so we are just like 2 hours behind.
While trains on adjacent tracks continue to run, the structural integrity of the bridge, which was built in 1912, must still be assessed. The derailed cars and overhanging debris also needs to be removed before the city can deem the roadway underneath safe for drivers. The potentially days-long road closure is more of a concern for some local businesses than the actual incident itself.
So that's a bad news for me. I didn't even know that. It's gonna affect like a lot, 70 to 80%, I think, because nobody can come in this parking lot except from McPhillips.
While no one was hurt, the Transportation Safety Board has also sent a team of investigators to the site. Brittany Greenslade, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Manitoba's Premier Heather Stefanson says she's relieved no one was hurt in that derailment. She says she and the mayor agree the city and province should restart the process of planning to relocate rail lines outside of Winnipeg. The Winnipeg Jets are resting tonight, preparing for tomorrow afternoon's first home game of the playoffs. After soaring to victory in Game 1 in Las Vegas, the Golden Knights knocked our team back down to earth last night in Game 2. The score was tied at 2 goals apiece at the start of the third period, but 5 minutes later, the Knights scored what would be the game winner. And then it would be a Winnipegger, Vegas captain Mark Stone, who scored back-to-back insurance goals for the Knights. So with 1 win each, the series moves to Winnipeg for games 3 and 4. CBC's Josh Crabb shows us how fans and the city are getting ready.
It's a sure sign playoff hockey has arrived in Winnipeg. Artist Carrie Parnell felt the excitement while putting the finishing touches on new Go Jets Go graffiti in this downtown skywalk.
Everybody walking by all day long saying, "Go Jets, go!" So that's been super fun.
Outside, a blast of wind and winter is ushering in the return of the whiteout street parties. And fans like Michael Pereira are getting ready to party on Donald and cheer on the Jets in Game 3 against the Vegas Golden Knights.
Everyone is just on a different level when it's playoff time. And especially now when you get into Winnipeg with the whiteout parties, it's going to be really electric.
We want Vegas!
It's the first one since the spring of 2019. It's taking place on Donald Street between Portage and Graham Avenues, and you can get in on Smith Street or at Graham and Donald, and there'll be an accessible entrance at Portage and Donald. It has a capacity of 5,000 people and is already sold out. True North's Kevin Donnelly says organizers are preparing to welcome large crowds.
If you have an arena ticket and you want to come to the street party, you have to enter into the street party first, and then you migrate from the street into the bowl afterward.
Collapsible lawn chairs and blankets are allowed at the street party. Backpacks aren't. The policy is the same as Canada Life centres, meaning only small bags can be carried in, with an exception for medical and childcare needs. Organizer Bobby Matola expects an electric atmosphere at a separate party at Hargrave Street Market for 1,000 people.
Just having 20,000 people in one location at one time with a really, really positive focus on the Winnipeg Jets and cheering them on.
Downtown businesses are also hoping to capitalize on the crowds and the buzz around the team. Devil May Care Brewing co-owner Colin Coop is opening the tap room for fans before, during, and after the game.
The fact that they won the first game is really great and everybody's really into it.
No snow is expected, but you may want to dress warm. Environment and Climate Change Canada forecasts a high of +6 and winds out of the north. While it's not mandatory for entry to the street parties, organizers encourage fans to wear white for every game. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
And win or lose tomorrow, there will be another home game Monday, complete with another whiteout party. If you can't make it there, have no fear. We will bring it to you live Monday at 6. We'll be doing our newscast from the street party site. We'll also bring you stories that go beyond the sea of white and show you what these kinds of events really mean to the fans. So don't forget to tune in Monday at 6. Today is Eid al-Fitr, which marks the end of the holy month of Ramadan. Usually, a massive prayer service is held at the RBC Convention Centre. But instead, this year, multiple prayer services were organized across the city. CBC's Stephanie Cram brings us more.
Eid is the time for Winnipeg's Muslim community to come together, to reconnect after a month of fasting and reflection during the holy month of Ramadan.
Normally we are busy with our lives and work and all, but these 2 days, like this Eid and the one Eid that's coming 2 months later, it's like one opportunity, one day where we all come together, and it's really good.
Zain Siddiqui is an international student originally from Pakistan. He says days like Eid remind him of home.
It's good to see, like this community, over the years it has grown. So it's good to have those people, it gives you that sense of being home. At least like for 2 times in a year, you get that sense that there are similar people around and you're not alone.
In previous years, the Manitoba Islamic Association held Eid prayers at the RBC Convention Centre, but that space wasn't available this year. Instead, they held events across the city, with the largest one at the Assiniboia Downs Event Centre.
It's kind of sad story, but it's in other way it's very good also. We spread out around the city.
Winnipeg's Muslim community is quickly growing, making it difficult to find a space for the community to congregate.
The community grew by leaps and bounds. The first year after COVID, when we were allowed to congregate and we were gathered, we had 2 prayers planned at RBC and we had to have an impromptu 3rd prayer because people still were coming in.
Eid at Assiniboia Downs attracted politicians from all levels of government and all parties. It means a lot to Latif to see the city and province support his community.
We're very happy to see them because they are supporting us for the years. It's good, very good. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Even though prayer events happened across the city this morning, Latif hopes to return to the RBC Convention Centre next year, bringing the community together to pray under one roof. Stephanie Cram, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A place of calm and healing was vandalized this week just outside of Winnipeg. Priceless ceremonial items were among the things stolen. CBC's Namponde Londe reports.
Behind these trees is an important space for residential school survivors, Wase Healing Center's lodge. And earlier this week, someone made their way down this muddy dirt road and violated that sacred space.
It's not just the monetary, it's just coming out there and desecrating a lodge site. So that kind of hits a little close to why would somebody do that?
Wayne Mason Jr. says the lodge buildings were broken into, garbage was dumped everywhere, and materials were stolen. Whoever did this smeared blood on the inside of one of the buildings and used the space as a bathroom.
It's unbelievable, that somebody would go and do something like that. It's depressing. Like we work so hard all the time, and that place was sacred. There's sacred land there because we do ceremony there.
The father and son say, in the 6 years the lodge has been here, they've never had anything like this happen. The power tools and building materials stolen were worth about $7,500, and they don't yet know how much it will cost to repair the damages. Priceless sacred items for ceremony were also taken. The Masons say they've reported this to the RCMP and they will boost security, but they will not let this deter them from their important work.
You may have did what you did, but we'll continue to do our work here, and this is not going to set us back. A lot of survivors and families have reached out and said, we want to help. You guys helped us, so we want to give back.
Mason Jr. says they're planning to get volunteers out here to help clean up and rebuild, so it will be ready for their summer events, like the Sundance ceremony and culture camp. Nampande Lande, CBC News, near Headingley.
Our weather specialist Riley Laychuk joins us now. What a blustery day.
Yeah, you can tell in that item there just how windy it was out there. Winds.
Flurries blowing around.
Wind, flurries, winds gusting up to over 65 at the airport this afternoon. So yeah, windy one. Just one of the impacts we've seen from the snow that we saw in Manitoba this week. I want to show you a couple photos that we got. These are from the Neighbourhoods area. Muriel sent these in. This part of the province getting about 15 to 20 centimeters of snow through the week between Wednesday and Friday. So yeah, look at all of this snow. Certainly doesn't look like this in parts of Winnipeg. So yeah, areas outside the city certainly did get a lot of snow. Here are some of the snowfall amounts that we saw. The Pembina Valley really getting hit the hardest with this snow. Crystal City, 30 centimeters of snow between Wednesday and this afternoon. Miami, Morden, Winkler, Schonzenfeld at around that 20 centimeter mark, and Rossburn and Westman really getting around that 15 to 20 centimeter mark, right around the Riding Mountain National Park region as well. Here's how it looks right now on satellite radar. You can see the lingering effects of this low pressure system still off into northwestern Ontario, expecting us to bring some light snow to northwestern Ontario through the night tonight. Starting to see a little bit of clearing now through Manitoba, even out to the Westman region, starting to see some clearing as well. And that will really continue as we get into the night tonight. You can see this low pressure area here really struggling to move out, but eventually does push out as we get into the early part of Saturday here. Here is what it looks like Saturday morning. You can see some clearing, so we will see clear skies through, or partly clear skies through parts of Westman as we get into the early part of Saturday. Partly cloudy to mostly cloudy through the Red River Valley into early tomorrow morning. And really that's what we get through most of the afternoon tomorrow too, is just sort of a sun-cloud mix, periods of cloud, periods of mainly sunny skies. So a little bit of a mixed bag tomorrow. So we do have the whiteout party happening tomorrow afternoon. So we'll pretty much see a mix of sun and cloud through the duration from when the gates open to the time the game concludes tomorrow evening in downtown Winnipeg. You will really want to dress for it if you're heading out, because it is going to be a little bit on the cool side. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. The rest of your weekend looks like this, really just a mainly sunny sky as we get into Sunday. That continues as we head into the early part of Monday morning. Not a whole lot to talk about. So +6 is where we're at right now in Winnipeg. Wind still gusting at 60, and you can see that here as we get into the night tonight, into early tomorrow, into the afternoon. Winds still out of the north, but sort of dying down a little bit as we get into Saturday and into Sunday. We'll see a much calmer day through much of the province. So here's a look at our temperatures as we get into the early part of tomorrow morning. -3 for Winnipeg, -4s outside the city. A little bit cooler out to the west, where we'll see some clearing overnight. And then into the afternoon, temperatures at about 3-4 degrees. I don't think we'll really get above 5 in the Red River Valley tomorrow. 4 degrees for Sunday. This is still about 10 degrees off normal for this time of the year. We have a 6 for Monday under a mainly sunny sky. Mainly sunny for Tuesday as well, with a high of 10 degrees. And then, Janet, we start to see a bit of a change in our pattern once again, a little bit more wet weather to end next week. I'll have those details and your whiteout forecast coming up later in the show.
Thanks, Riley.
No problem.
Tomorrow is Earth Day. We're going to show you how some Winnipeg fashion design students are finding ways to reduce textile waste. They're transforming used clothing into updated outfits. That story after the break. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. Fashion design students at Winnipeg's MC College are taking on the Upcycling Challenge. It's a nationwide contest encouraging up-and-coming designers to minimize textile waste by transforming worn garments into unique, updated styles. CBC's Emily Brass dropped into the classroom.
Canadians throw about 85% of their used clothes into the landfill, generating about 1.1 billion kilos of textile waste every year.
That makes the fashion industry one of the biggest polluters on the planet. A lot of that is because of fast fashion, cheap, trendy clothing, often worn only a handful of times. Some students in Winnipeg have designs on minimizing some of that waste.
We just dump it into the oceans and other countries, and there's just so much waste in the world.
The students are upcycling, turning old garments into fresh new looks.
So I filled up a bunch of bags of old winter sweaters that were like stretched out and kind of stained. And I cut them up to make this patchwork dress that is still kind of in the work in progress.
Never, ever, ever be basic for nobody.
Their teacher, Michelle Maynard, has her own sustainable fashion brand.
Creatively, when you upcycle something, you really have to use your design brain and figure out, how to make something look good. Maybe something had holes in it or it was trash, and you really have to turn it into something that's wearable or commercially viable. This jacket.
She took it a step further and had the students enter a nationwide upcycling challenge for course credit.
It's just important for them to know wherever they go in the future, it doesn't matter where they're going to be working, sustainability is going to be a part of what they have to do.
One student turned a used vinyl purse into a striking two-piece outfit.
When I was at the thrift store, I just saw this bag that had a cool cutout, and the idea came.
Another student turned a traditional Ethiopian gown into a sporty new look.
Upcycling is good because, in our closet, every closet we have old clothes, we throw it or we keep it long time instead of reusing it.
The winners of the upcycling challenge will be announced during Fashion Revolution Week, which starts on Earth Day.
This is a 60s inspired coat.
Win or lose, Lee says upcycled fashion has already paid off for her.
Growing up, I was considered a little kooky, out of the box, and over time I've developed a sense of style that's a little bit, colorful and fun. And it just helped me be more comfortable with myself, and I just hope one day I could do that for somebody else too.
Emily Brass, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The Prime Minister and Ontario's Premier were in St. Thomas, Ontario today, just south of London, announcing a long-anticipated electric vehicle battery facility will be built there.
With this historic project, we're not just bringing back manufacturing. We're bringing back a strong, thriving economy for this community, and we're delivering a national anchor for Canada's electric vehicle supply chain.
Volkswagen will spend $7 billion to build the factory, planned to be a sprawling site. The federal government will kick in a subsidy of between $8 and $13 billion over 10 years. The province is spending $500 million. Backers of this EV project say it will create 3,000 jobs and that thousands more will be employed in the economic spin-off. Now, while the Prime Minister was making that announcement, a group of federal workers was picketing nearby.
The workers, united, will never be defeated.
They're not happy about Ottawa giving Volkswagen millions in subsidies while they're on strike fighting for pay that keeps up with inflation. Remote work is also a key issue for the union. More than 150,000 federal workers went on strike Wednesday. About 50,000 workers have been deemed essential, and they're still on the job. Other federal services are impacted, like immigration processing, food inspections, and tax returns. Police in Ontario are investigating one of the biggest heists in Canadian history. It happened Monday at Toronto's Pearson International Airport. A container filled with gold and other valuables worth more than $20 million was stolen. All police will say is that the theft happened after a plane arrived and its cargo was unloaded and transported to a holding facility. Right now, police have made no arrests in the case. They say they do not know the location of the stolen goods. Investigators are not saying which airline was involved or where the gold was headed. Quite a mystery. Riley Laychuk has your 7-day forecast for you after the break, as well as your daily lift still ahead when CBC Winnipeg News returns.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, if you're heading to the Whiteout Street Party tomorrow in downtown Winnipeg, dress for it because it's going to be a bit on the chilly side. So when gates open at around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we will be under a mix of sun and cloud. Winds won't be overly strong, but we will be around the freezing mark first thing in the afternoon there. Not really warming up all that much either. 2 o'clock by the time the game gets underway. We'll probably get to about 4 or 5 in the afternoon tomorrow and then cooling off as things sort of wind down. So you'll want to maybe pack a sweater, wear a sweater if you're heading down there tomorrow. So 4 degrees for the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. We have a 6 for Monday when we have that second street party happening, which we'll be live at on Monday. Then we start to see a little bit of instability moving through the end of next week. That's when we could see our next chance for some showers. Well, a busy group of young people in Montreal are working to protect the bee population.
And the center of their efforts is a place the bees can call home. The CBC's Kwabine Oduro brings us your daily lift.
This is the new bug hotel, and it will be infested with insects soon enough. But in this case, they are welcomed here, and these little managers were getting everything set up for their new clientele.
For me, bug is really important because we can't live without. So because the bee produce the honey and things like that. So I think it's good to thank stuff for the work and what he did for us.
That's why last year these students at Abdelard de Rosier wrote letters to the borough mayor. They wanted the borough to help them with a project to protect bees and the biodiversity of their neighborhood.
I really hate bees. I don't like them. But when I did this project, like, it got more interesting, and I can know more about them.
On top of the bug hotel, students asked for more flowers to be planted, less pesticides used on plants, and in May they don't want the grass to be cut, so the bees can harvest pollen from dandelions.
I am very happy to find this young people with their involvement and commitment in our society, and to have like in their hearts the issue about the environment, the issue of biodiversity.
This hotel is self-check-in and out. Bees and other insects are welcome to sleep, nest, and hang out here. Unfortunately, meals are not included.
Well, to me, it's important for the bees, but for the whole planet, the ecosystem. As we know, with the pollution, everything, it's not going so great. So I think that every little thing we can do to help, we should be doing.
As the hotel is up and running, the children are hoping that the bees will come, and to attract them, they're playing music.
Yes, for you. Yeah, for you.
Kwabine Oduro, CBC News, Montreal.
So it's not just a place to stay, it's a place for entertainment, too.
That's true.
Gotta like that.
So a couple games coming up tonight. Boston, Florida, Edmonton, LA, Game 3s coming up tonight on CBC. Vegas and Winnipeg on CBC tomorrow afternoon.
Absolutely. Remember, roads are going to close earlier, so watch out downtown. Dress for it and...
have a great weekend.
Go Jets, go! Bye.